exploring the tension between the physical and the psychological. And research focuses on the use of new technologies and media applications as presentation tools. Her latest work, Autoplay, an AI opera, received critical acclaim. Recent commissions include Ultra for the South African State Theatre and Blame It on the Algorithm for Woodfees and the National Arts Festival. A screen dance work, Blue Funk, was the first South African entry selected for the Sign Dance Festival in the Netherlands. It also won Best Festival at the Third Coast Dance Film Festival in the year 2024. That was in America. She's also been named Best Female Director at Mirada Kota, that is in the year 2025 in Mexico City, and Best Choreographer and Performance Awards at the Utah Dance Festival in the stateside as well. Let me welcome my guest tonight, Louise. How you doing?
Hey there, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
You've done so much stuff, man. Ain't that incredible?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean it's great to get to share our work with the world. That's what we all want to do. So yeah, very fortunate.
All right. Is it too late for me to start dancing? I'd really love to dance, but I got two left feet.
Never too late.
All right, we're going to go into it. e.ID. Fugue inhabits a suspended reality. Can you take us into what that suspended reality feels like when you are in your creative process?
Of course. I was kind of into this idea of feeling suspended between different worlds, feeling suspended between the real and the virtual, and then became quite interested in how we might be able to show that in an embodied way, in a visual way on a stage. And really, that was the genesis of EID for me, like looking at identity and how identity becomes fractured and quite a complicated and interesting subject in a digital age that we're living in.
Mm, yeah, so describe it to me again. You said your work is a choreographic meditation on identity and mortality and existence within an increasingly digitized world. So you really don't like, where we're going now that we've become so digital?
No, I wouldn't say I don't like it. I think I find the possibilities very exciting, especially
Mhm.
as an artist. The possibilities within a digital environment, we have tools accessible to us that have never existed before. So it's definitely not a negative viewpoint on it, but it is kind of uh, just poking around in it and going, what's actually happening here? Like, what are we actually experiencing? How is it affecting us? How is it changing our
Yeah.
humanity, our relationships, our way of communicating? So yeah, so it's just I find it's an interesting subject matter with lots of layers in it.
Mm.
Um, and it offers questions. I definitely can't offer any answers in the work, but I think it offers questions.
Yeah, true. Lewis, did you ever get an opportunity to watch The Matrix, the movie?
Many years ago.
Aren't we becoming closer and closer to what was predicted by The Matrix? Will you take the red pill or the blue pill?
Exactly. I mean, I think it's very interesting how a lot of those kind of older sci-fi
Yeah.
films were predicting a future, and in some ways, the future that was predicted was better than the future we're in now, and in other ways, the
True.
future we're in now is really incredible compared to what we might have imagined. So I find
Mm.
like also that tension is quite interesting in how, like just new things that come up and new things we need to navigate as people living in this age.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, Louise, and we'll be right back. It's a very interesting topic we are talking about living in between two worlds. We'll be right back. Thursday night, the 13th of August, Soul Stage continues with Louise. So, Louise, you were talking about an existence between two different worlds. So, we're living in between worlds. One is physical, the other is digital. And e.ID tries to extrapolate what is going on. Tell me a little more.
Yeah, I think the work really kind of started with this idea of identity and how identity is becoming quite an interesting and complex thing as the world keeps changing. But then also the idea of a digital forever and a real mortality that we kind of face, but at the same time we have a digital footprint that is never erased. So there are these traces that are left behind um, in a world and in a virtual world. So again, these are just things that I find are so interesting and kind of like you said earlier, it's kind of like the Matrix. It's like a
Mm,
sci-fi thing. We're living in it. And so these are just questions that I wonder about, and that comes out in the work.
lovely. You say the work is structured as a fugue and echoes shifting tastes of memory, perception, and self. Why did you choose the musical form of a fugue for this piece?
So it became quite a theme early on. I was working with an incredible group of musicians who created the score. That is Njabulo Fungula, Nicholas Wiese, Heidrun Skram, who are two German musicians collaborating on the work, and then Inge Beckmann, as well as musical director Bryden Bolton, who are the South African team. And we started working with the idea of the voice and breath and organic sound coming out of the human body. And somehow along the way, I guess my choreography often also uses fugue type composition. And it started to really make sense because a fugue is essentially a single voice that starts something and other voices follow in varying patterns. But then in psychology, you also get a fugue state, which refers to a state of temporary loss of identity. And so somehow the two seem to work quite well together with the theme I was working on. And the work really then became structured as a fugue, not only in the movement, not only in the music, but also in the objects and how things appear and reappear and kind of fall in and out of the narrative.
Yeah. So e.ID uses responsive technologies, light and sound, to reshape the landscape. How did you approach integrating bespoke interactive objects and technology into your choreography?
Yeah, that's always an interesting process. I really enjoy working with new technologies. I find it extremely challenging because we all know technology has a mind of its own. So to try and wrangle technologies to perform alongside your performers can be a real challenge, but it's always a very enjoyable and rewarding one because I find there's always new discoveries in that. So for this work, I collaborated with Tim Smith from Method Lab, who created the bespoke interactive objects that we use in the work. Um, and it really became a case that these objects are performing alongside the dancers in the work. They become secondary characters as the narrative unfolds. And I think that process really was full of discoveries, again, around how technology can support and frame artistic work.
You've spoken about researching new technologies and media applications as presentation tools. What new possibilities did you discover while you were making e.ID?
Well, I think it's always the thing of how to balance the technology with the performance. I think it can be quite easy or quite alluring to rely on the technology to almost be like a showstopper or be the main element in a work. But I always try to approach it with caution and try to find a balance where the work has still a strength in what the work is, and the technology is purely there to support the concept. So that's always what I'm trying to discover in the work. I don't know if that is what I was able to discover with this one, but that's always the aim, is how to balance those elements so that the one is not taking over, but that they're really supporting each other to strengthen the concept.
And I believe that for this particular production, you had South African composers as well as German composers. How did that international collaboration shape the final work?
Yeah, really incredible process to work with all of them. They each bring such a unique voice, such a unique signature um, to the work, in a sense that it almost seemed um, challenging at the beginning to imagine how it would all sit together. But I feel like through the process, we really found, and also with music director Bryden, who I've worked with very often, we found a way that these vastly different elements come together. And I think I was speaking about this idea of very human sound, organic sound coming out of the human body, contrasted with things that are extremely generated, electronic, machine made. And so I feel like there is a real balance that came out of that. Um, it was a very, very interesting process to bring together such unique, um, interesting voices into one single work. I feel like this work will offer a lot for audiences who are not just interested in dance, but who are interested in contemporary music, because I think the
Mm.
score is extremely fresh and contemporary.
You're a choreographer as well as a movie maker. Now, this is a very interesting concept. Do you think people will get it, or will they come out of the presentation a little more confused? What is the concept of EID?
I think it is good for audiences to look at things that are taking them outside of their comfort zone. I think
Hmm.
we are not always exposed enough to that. And I feel like that is the job of art, is to challenge us and to challenge our perception of what art is, and to challenge our perceptions of
Hmm.
ourselves and of our society. And I feel like that is that is what we can do with art. So let's do that. I can't say if people will. I mean, dance is in itself quite subjective. You can really take your own interpretation of it because it's
Hmm.
not spoken word language. So I am quite happy with that. I enjoy when audiences take very different interpretations of the work. I think that's necessary. We have to look at things through our own lens and make sense of it in our own way. And even if the concept is not something you are necessarily wanting to latch onto, I think the work offers a very powerful sound score as well as a visual frame, visual landscape that I think is definitely an enjoyable experience as well.
So, Darkroom Contemporary has been creating interdisciplinary work since 2010. How does EID sit within the company's broader exploration of dance, digital technologies, and visual media?
Yeah, I think this project is, every year we as a company try and push the bar a bit higher. We take on projects that are more and more ambitious with each season. And I think EID definitely is pushing things again into another space or another sphere in terms of the type of technologies we chose to work with, the type of elements that are coming together in the work and how they are coming together in the work, the scope of the team that's been involved in putting the work together. So it really is a progression of the company's 16-year history. And I feel like it's a really good, comprehensive package of this is what Darkroom is. It's a very good representation of the type of work Darkroom Contemporary presents.
e.ID is going to be touring Pretoria, Berlin, and Arnhem. How does presenting the work in South Africa, Germany, as well as the Netherlands shift its meaning for different audiences?
I think that's going to be very interesting and amazing. I think that's such a wonderful, wonderful thing that we get to share work across the world, because I do believe audiences in different parts of the world will have very different engagement to the material. And I think that is very exciting prospect because it's for me, I look at presenting work, it's a way of us sharing our own worldview or the way we see the world functioning, and to be able to do that internationally to audiences who have never been in South Africa, for example, it's giving them a glimpse of what this world is, because the work has been informed by this space that we are in. So I feel like there's going to be definitely a very different dialogue around the work in the different cities that we bring it to. And that's an exciting prospect.
Yeah, and your practice often grapples with the tensions between the physical and the psychological. Where do you see these tensions most in the production e.ID?
Well, I guess it is quite a very inward looking work in a sense, but it's also extremely physical in its execution. The performers are incredible, incredible dancers who really embody, they absolutely have to embody this concept to be able to bring it forward and to be able to perform it. And they really do that with such integrity and commitment to the material. So I feel like the work is very much between those two. It is the physical and it is the psychological. Um, and the tension in that is certainly felt as well.
So, for audiences who may be new to dance theater or immersive performance, what should they be listening for and watching for in your latest production, A Fugue?
Well, I think the immersiveness of it kind of comes out of, again, like I explained, the work as almost a choreographic meditation. There's a sense of going on a journey throughout the work, not always a journey that is linear, not always a journey that has high arcs and deep lows. It's sometimes much more subtle or quiet than that, but there is an introspectiveness to it for sure. Um, and I feel like the immersiveness of the sound score and the objects that are used in the work really has the power to pull a viewer in. And that is kind of the experience we hope to offer, so that we're not just saying, come and sit and watch something unfold, but it really is something that you can kind of get lost in. Um, because it's taking you on this type of an inward journey, and I hope that it can leave viewers with a sense of introspection, and opening just a couple of questions, not answers, like I said, but just questions and wondering and musings that they could
Yeah.
maybe ponder for a while.
All right. So, Louise, what time are the performances at the State Theatre, and how much are the tickets going to be sold for?
So the work is opening on Wednesday, the 19th of August at 7 p.m. Then on the 20th, the Thursday, we have a special 11 a.m. morning matinee. That's part of the State Theatre's morning matinee initiative. That's also followed by an artist discussion. So that's a really good opportunity for anyone who's not keen to travel at night to come and see the work, and also have a glimpse behind the scenes, because all the artists involved will be part of that discussion. And then on the Friday, we have another 7 p.m. performance. The Saturday, there's a 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. performance. And Sunday, the 23rd, 3 p.m. performance. Tickets are 150 Rand, available on web tickets. Just search for e.ID.
Fantastic. Sounds very interesting, Louise. If people want to get a bit more information on the production, Where can they visit? What are the social media handles?
Yes, please check out Darkroom Contemporary on Instagram and Facebook. That is where all of the beautiful images of the dancers, the video trailers on there, that really gives you a feel for the mood of the work, a sense of the type of performance you might be able to expect, a glimpse of the sound score as well. So Darkroom Contemporary on Instagram and Facebook, or www.darkroomcontemporary.com.
Thank you so much for having joined us tonight. We look forward to your performance.
Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic. Check her out. That is Louise and a production team at the State Theatre. I'm sure it's going to be something. See you there.